Welcome back to the Hockey Hub. Very, very pleased to have our next guest on, Mark Divver. Thank you for joining us from the New England Hockey Journal and contributing to NHL.com, specializing in covering the Providence Bruins. And you guys are having a heck of a start. I believe best in franchise history. How has this 6-0-0 start been to cover for you?
Well, the team has had a history in recent years of slow starts. So, nobody could ever really point their finger or put their finger on why, but they kind of stumbled out of the gate for the last several years. But this year, it's a different mix, obviously a different group. They've been lights out, and it's been a lot of fun to watch. They really haven't even really trailed a lot in games. It's either tied or they're ahead for most of the games. I think they have just a tremendous roster, a roster that's really the envy of a lot of AHL teams at this point. So, can they continue it? I mean, that's the question, right?
Absolutely. Well, a number of these players have started to get more NHL looks, especially with the Bruins towards the ends of last season. Is that something that maybe helps them have an advantage in the AHL? The fact that they're right there on the cusp of the NHL caliber and they're pushing to finally get their NHL debut. Mujanel says he doesn't want to send guys up to come back down. He wants to send them up and never see them again. So how much is that possibly helping?
Well, I think it does help if guys are this close to the NHL, then it's on them to work to get to make the next step. And I think they are very much motivated by the fact that, 45 minutes up the road, they can be there if they continue to play well. So I think that's everybody's goal. A coach down here a long time ago, a crusty guy who was a tough player, Rob Murray, told me a long time ago, nobody wants to be here. Talking about the American League, nobody wants to be here. They all have bigger dreams. They all want to move up, and working toward that is what they have to do pretty much every day if they want to get there.
Now, what can you tell us about Jonathan Aspiro? Because the Bruins, we've been kind of calling Hampus Lindholm day to day, and he's been skating with the team, and we just found out that he's been placed on injured reserve, which is where we were predicting. I feel awful for him with the season he had last year, but that's neither here or there. That being said, though, with that news, as well as Jordan Harris being on IR, Jonathan Aspiro gets called up. Not confirmed that he'll make his NHL debut, but what have you noticed in the 6 games and in the time that you've been able to watch him?
Well, I would say the biggest thing about him is that you don't notice him. He plays kind of a quiet, consistent game. You don't notice, he's not lugging the puck end to end, but he's not getting beat in the defensive zone either. He's just a very steady kind of defenseman that, a two-way type, I wouldn't classify him as an offensive guy or as a strictly a shutdown guy. Just the kind of guy that does both competently. And, if that's what they're looking for up there, and I assume that's what they want, then he's the guy.
I actually am going to defer back to Sophia because she asked you a great question before we went live and brought you back in, Sophia, about the systems for AHL and NHL. Did you want to ask him?
Yeah, sure. Kasey and I and in our pregame show, one of the biggest themes, because it's coming out of Marco Sturm's mouth, is this new system that he's trying to implement with the Boston Bruins. The defensive structure, that's where a lot of their breakdowns have been. They're getting the offense, they're getting the goals, but letting in obviously more, and that's leading to the losses. And he was saying it's going to take patience, and they don't have a lot of practice time, et cetera, et cetera. And my question to you was, if in AHL teams, if their affiliates have to kind of play the same system, is Brian Mujanel implying the same thing, so that when a player gets called up, they're ready for what the Bruins are doing? So tell us about how that's going in the AHL right now with those guys.
Well, as far as I know, there's not a hard and fast rule that says you have to mirror the parent club systems, but I think most every AHL coach does it that way because that makes the most sense. If guys are going to go up. You don't want them stepping into a different way of approaching the neutral zone or the D zone. So yeah, for the most part, they do it the same. And in Providence, that's been the case this year. There've been tweaks, like in Boston, and it's working down here. Nobody has had an adjustment, I don't think, to making it work. I think, maybe it works better because the opposition down here isn't of the same level as the guys up top in the NHL who can take advantage and can jump on mistakes and take advantage of them. Down here, the players aren't as good, and maybe they're not able to jump on that stuff and make it turn out to their advantage.
Switching over to the offensive side of things, because obviously there's been a lot of top producers there, and that's where the fans are kind of calling for, like, hey, when can we see a key Providence guy maybe jump into the Bruins mix-up? But Fabian Lysell being a fan favorite to a degree, Merkulov being a fan favorite to a degree, which one of these guys who have been heavy contributors kind of stand out to you the most?
Geez, it's hard to pick just one. You look at the leading scorers in the AHL, and there's a bunch of Bruins up near the top. Right now, Riley Tufte is the guy who has the most points. He's had some limited time in Boston. Merkulov continues to be just a standout player in the American Hockey League. It hasn't, he hasn't really had the opportunity in the NHL to make it happen. And, I think myself and a lot of people are curious to see if he does get a shot. Fabian has been better this year. The thing about him that to me stands out a little bit this year as opposed to his first 3 years, I think he's competing more. He's more competitive. And whether that is he's a year older, he's a year more mature, he's maybe better able to realize that this is what it's going to take. You can't you got to be all out all the time in order to earn a call up. And so far he's been good. More competitive on loose pucks, faster. His speed is there aren't many players as fast as him in the American League. He's been able to use that more so far this year. So, I got to think the organization is pleased with the progress he's made so far this year. But they have, like I said, they have a lot of offensive players, guys that got looks in training camp and didn't make the cut at the end, but guys that are right up there in the scoring race.
I like that read on Fabian Lysell. Something in the summer, Kasey, I believe it was with you when we were co-hosting. But yeah, I talked about Fabian, and I have covered him a little bit, Mark, where he does Bruins Media Day, and then obviously he was called up for a stretch at the end of the season. And I like him so much as a person. Like as a young kid, we would, chat and about life and Europe and all that kind of stuff. But when it came to locker room sound, I couldn't get a read on him. I was like, is he too chill was the word I would use. Like, is he too nonchalant a little bit? Or Pavel Zacha is a very monotone, nonchalant kind of guy, but I know behind the scenes he's super intense about his game. So I thought, just because Fabian's personality isn't screaming out that he's, frustrated or whatever, it doesn't mean he doesn't care behind the scenes. But I like hearing that he's amping up the intensity because I think that was lacking. I think that was just lacking in the NHL bench. I don't know if it's work ethic or I don't know if it's I don't like calling a player out for work ethic because I'm not there all the time. I'm not there in the weight room. I don't know. But there was something that I just felt like was missing, and you're saying that je ne sais quoi seems to be back. Is it a spark? Is it a work ethic that you're seeing that's different?
I don't know if I'd call it competitiveness. I don't know, as opposed to work ethic. Getting to a loose puck first, battling a guy on the boards and winning the battle, coming away with the puck. In his previous years here, he didn't win enough wall battles. He didn't win enough races. And now I feel like he's doing better in those areas. I couldn't I couldn't say whether he's appreciably better on the defensive side of the puck, which has been something coaches have talked about with him. But I think effort competitiveness will take you a long way. And I like what I've seen from him in that department so far. I think it's going to help him, get where hopefully he wants to be.
Another guy getting some rave reviews would be Brunet, and of course his defensive abilities, but Mouginel talked about how much he likes his vision from the blue line. What have you seen from him, and the hopes that he could potentially be making his stamp in the NHL in the next year or two, or sooner rather than later, hopefully?
Yeah, the progress he's made in the 2 years leading into this year is exactly what you want to see in terms of player development and young guys taking the bull by the horns and improving, constantly working at getting their game in better shape. He's, I think Mouge referenced his baby-faced look when he came here two years ago, which is a good description. He's still a very, very young kid, but more experience in the ways of pro hockey, and he's come a long way, and he's coming on fast. He didn't get the call this time. If he had, I think he could do the job as well if he were to get in there. I wouldn't say maybe that he's ready to be a full-time NHL guy at this point, but he's on the right track, and maybe later on this year or late in the year, he will be ready to step up there. And as Ryan Mouginel says, I don't want to see him again once he goes up. I don't want to see him again. So he's doing well.
I feel like we can have a whole different style of a podcast, but I love covering Ryan Mouginel. He's such a good quote. He's so much fun. But I'll save that, neither here nor there, because I have a couple of more Providence Bruins related questions. But Mouginel's quotes are pretty hilarious. I wanted to talk goaltending. Jonas Korpisalo, I think he's doing a great job, and we're not even calling him a backup right now. It is kind of the 1A, 1B. Clearly, with Jeremy Swayman's contract and his play, it's his net. But with this condensed schedule, we're seeing so many back-to-backs and so many, 3-4 games and 6 nights that Korpisalo is getting a lot of playing time, and that's what he wanted. How about Michael DiPietro? Some people are saying maybe, there's rumors that maybe Korpisalo could be involved in a trade, and Michael DiPietro's ready. I've liked what I've seen from Korpisalo. I haven't seen much of Michael DiPietro. Just know that he's a great kid. What have you made of his play so far?
Yeah, he is a great kid, and he's a very competitive kid. And one of the big reasons for the team's success so far is their competitiveness. But Michael was the best goalie in the league last year. He just had a tremendous season, and I wonder what's going through his mind as he looks and sees his partner last year, Brandon Bussey, is in the NHL. Oh, yeah. Colton Ellis of Springfield last year, who Michael outplayed in the playoffs, he's in the NHL now, and Michael's back in the AHL. So that should be an incentive for Michael to keep on working, and he works very hard on the ice, off the ice. He's been good so far. I wouldn't say that last year he was just lights out. I wouldn't say he's approached that this year, but he's been very good. He's been, he's a guy you want in there in a say a 1-goal game in the third period, because he's usually going to close it down and get you out of there with a win.
I think he's the guy that you're going to want versus the Scranton Penguins. Is that what's coming up? And aren't they
Yes.
even on a hot streak of their own, if I'm not mistaken? This can turn into a bit of a shootout if things don't remain tight between the pipes for both teams. But how do you expect the Providence Bruins to stay as elite as they have been thus far this season versus a very tough Scranton Penguins team?
I was looking around for the stat this morning. Providence has won. It's been a long time since they lost down there. So I don't know exactly how long, what the number of games has been, but that's a tough place to go and play. The Penguins always have a competitive, hardworking, good team. The coach is Kirk McDonald, who spent some time in Providence as a player. He's a terrific up-and-coming young coach. So they will be prepared, I'm sure of it. They have a good team. Pittsburgh's done a good job kind of restocking their prospect cupboard. They have some good young players and some good older players. I think it'll be, yesterday I called it the game of the century, maybe the game of the week, But it should be a good one. I hope I hope the fans turn out to see it. Wednesday night games in the American League are a tough sell for obvious reasons, but it doesn't get much better than this week's Wednesday game.
All right, well, let's see if they can keep their perfect season going, that being the Providence Bruins. Very exciting for Boston Bruins fans to know what's up and coming in their system. Mark Divver, thank you so much for joining us. I'm sure we'll have you on again at some point this season. Thanks again for being on our show.